In the heart of a vibrant African town stood a bustling marketplace, alive with voices, colors, and the scent of roasted corn and fresh fruit. Among the many traders was Amara, a humble fruit seller known for her radiant smile and gentle spirit. Life had not been kind to her. Her parents had passed when she was young, leaving her to fend for herself. Yet despite hardship, Amara carried herself with quiet dignity and faith. She believed that poverty was only shameful when it lived inside the heart, not on one's clothes. On the other side of town lived Chinedu, the son of a wealthy businessman. He was handsome, confident, and adored by everyone who sought his favor. But beneath his charm lay arrogance, the kind that feeds on looking down upon others. Chinedu loved to boast about his wealth, his cars, and his lavish lifestyle. To him, the poor were failures, reminders of what he thought he would never become. One hot afternoon, his car rolled into the market, followed by a chorus of admiration and gossip. He had come to inspect one of his father's stores nearby, dressed in designer clothes and dark glasses. As he walked past Amara's fruit stand, he noticed her tattered wrapper and faded sandals. A smirk crossed his face, the kind of smile that wounds without words. "Hey, fruit girl," he said loudly. "How much for that banana? Or is it too expensive for you to sell properly?" Laughter rippled through the market. His friends joined in, mocking Amara for her poverty. Her face flushed with embarrassment, but her voice remained calm. "Sir," she said softly, "the sun shines on both the rich and the poor. One day, you may stand where I stand." Chinedu burst into laughter. "Me? Stand where you are? Impossible. I was born to dine with kings, not traitors." With that, he tossed a coin at her feet and walked away, leaving her trembling with hurt. That night, Amara wept silently. Not because of the insult, but because of the cruelty in his laughter. Still, she prayed for him, that life would teach him compassion. And indeed, life would soon answer her prayer. The fall for the wind that carries pride often brings a storm of humility. A few months later, Chinedu's father was arrested for fraud. Their empire collapsed overnight. Chinedu's world shattered. His mansion was seized, his cars sold, his friends vanished. The same people who once praised him now whispered behind his back. He couldn't believe how quickly admiration turned into mockery. Pride, once his armor, now felt like a heavy chain dragging him down. With nowhere to go and nothing to eat, Chinedu wandered the streets, forgotten and hungry. One evening, weak and desperate, he stumbled back into the same market he once ruled with arrogance. His clothes were torn, his shoes worn out, and hunger gnawed at his stomach. The traders who once feared his pride now ignored him, except one. Amara saw him sitting near her stall, head bowed, trembling from exhaustion. Without hesitation, she approached him with a plate of food. "Eat," she said gently. "You look hungry." He lifted his eyes, shocked. "Amara, after what I did to you." She smiled faintly. Hunger doesn't remember insults. Besides, kindness isn't a debt, it's a choice. Tears welled in his eyes. For the first time, Chinedu felt smaller than the fruit seller he once mocked. He took the food, whispering, "Thank you." The following days, Amara allowed him to help around her stall. He swept, carried baskets, and learned how to bargain with customers. The market people were amazed to see the proud rich boy now working humbly among them. But to Chinedu, this wasn't humiliation, it was healing. Each fruit he sold, each smile he earned, rebuilt something pride had destroyed. Amara never treated him with pity. Instead, she taught him dignity in labor and grace in simplicity. "Life is a circle," she told him once. "When you rise, don't forget the ground that lifted you." Her words stayed with him like sunlight through clouds. Months passed, and Chinedu began rebuilding his life through honest work. He discovered new opportunities by helping others, a far cry from his former greed. Amara's kindness had awakened his conscience, and he realized how empty his old life had been. He admired her strength, her patience, and her beauty, the kind that glowed from within. Love and simplicity. One afternoon, heavy rain poured down on the market. Traders rushed to cover their goods, but Amara's old umbrella broke. Without a word, Chinedu took off his own jacket and covered her fruit stand. She looked at him, surprised. "You'll get wet," she said. He smiled softly. "It's fine. You once kept me warm when I was cold inside." They stood side by side, sharing silence and rain. That was the moment Amara saw that his heart had truly changed. New beginnings soon, friendship blossomed into affection. Yet Chinedu feared she would never forgive his past. So one evening, under the golden sky, he confessed, "Amara, I mocked you because I was blind. You had more riches in your heart than I ever had in my bank." She smiled, her eyes glistening. "And you've learned what true wealth means." "That's enough for me." With renewed hope, Chinedu worked harder, saving every coin he earned. He invested wisely, starting a small business in the same market that once humbled him. This time, success didn't change him, it refined him. And when prosperity returned, he knew exactly who to share it with. The proposal one Sunday morning, dressed in simple clothes, Chinedu knelt before Amara's stall. The market fell silent as he brought out a small ring. "Amara," he said softly, "when I mocked your poverty, I didn't know I was mocking my destiny. You became the light in my darkness. Will you marry me?" Gasps echoed. The same crowd that once laughed at her now cheered. Amara covered her face in tears, nodding gently. "Yes, Chinedu," she whispered, "because the man kneeling before me is richer than gold. He has learned love." The market erupted in applause, drums beating, voices singing blessings. Their marriage, their wedding was simple but beautiful. Not in wealth, but in sincerity. Traders donated food, musicians played, and children danced barefoot with joy. The fruit seller and the fallen prince had become one. Even the poorest trader gave something small, a plate, a song, a prayer. There was laughter, music, and blessings under the wide blue sky. Amara wore a plain white dress, her smile brighter than any diamond. Chinedu could not stop looking at her, the woman who had taught him what life truly meant. A new life years later, they opened a charity that helped poor families send their children to school. They named it the Sun Shines for All Foundation, from the very words Amara spoke long ago. Every year, they gave free fruits and books to children in need. Chinedu often told young men, "Never mock where you've never been. Life can take you there tomorrow." Together, they built a home filled with laughter, humility, and love. Amara's fruits still sold at the market, not for profit, but for memory. She never stopped smiling, for she had once fed a broken man and found her treasure in him. A life of grace sometimes, when it rained, they would sit by the window and remember their beginning. "Do you remember that day?" Chinedu would ask. Amara would laugh softly. "How could I forget? You looked so proud that even the rain was afraid to touch you." "And you," he'd reply, "looked so strong that even God listened when you prayed for me." They would both smile, thankful for the journey. Legacy of kindness. One day, a reporter asked Chinedu what changed his life. He looked at his wife and said, "The day I mocked her, I lost everything. The day I respected her, I found everything." The story spread across the city, inspiring others to live with compassion. Parents began teaching their children the value of humility over pride. Many young people who heard their story started helping the poor and treating others kindly. And thus, their love became more than a story, it became a lesson. The market, the laughter, the pain, all were threads in a divine tapestry of redemption. Amara's once torn wrapper was now replaced with grace and gratitude. Chinedu's once arrogant eyes now reflected peace. Together, they proved that wealth may fade, but goodness endures forever. Their union stood as a monument of mercy and second chances. The evening of life on quiet nights, as they sat under the stars, Chinedu would whisper, "You were the treasure I never knew I needed." And Amara would reply, smiling, "And you were the lesson I prayed someone would learn." Sometimes they walked through the same market hand in hand. The traders would wave and greet them warmly. New sellers had taken their old spots, but Amara's stall still stood, now decorated with flowers. Children called her Mama Amara, and she would give them oranges and say, "Remember, kindness is never wasted." Years passed, but their love never grew old. It became gentler, stronger, and more peaceful. Whenever Chinedu saw a proud young man walk by with arrogance, he would smile sadly. He knew what it meant to fall, and to rise again through grace. And sometimes at sunset, he would stand in front of their house and whisper, "Thank you, life, for humbling me. Thank you, Amara, for healing me." Their story lived on, told by mothers to their children and by elders to the young. The town called it the tale of the fruit seller and the proud prince. And even after they were gone, the market people would still say, "He mocked her poverty, but she became his only treasure." Moral lessons. Pride can make you blind, but humility opens your eyes. Kindness can change a heart faster than anger ever can. What you give in love will always come back in peace. The greatest treasure is not money, but a heart that forgives.